Today's topic, the talk. Joy Monroe is the founder, executive director of SPARC, the Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Joy has spent the past 20 years serving single parents and their families by providing direct services through programs geared towards the development of parenting skills, financial management, securing stable and secure housing, after-school programs, continuing education workshops for working moms, and its signature annual holiday family adoption program. Joy is a bright and shining light in times such as these. We welcome Joy Monroe to the Justice Beat.
They are often reduced to just being a body, seen as something that could be easily discarded. They're just asking for dignity, which you would think all of us would want.
James Baldwin said to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious means that you are enraged almost all the time.
You realize you live in a world where your humanity is constantly being questioned.
This country needs to put the mirror up.
We're angry because of the notion that we love our community. We love our black boys and our black girls.
These young people don't need saviors. They need believers.
We're passing this stuff on from generation to generation.
We're better than what black people and black males are experiencing. We are better than that.
Good morning, Justice B family, and good morning to our family on Real STL News. Welcome back for another edition of the Justice B Talk Show. And today we have with us Miss Joy Monroe, who is the founder and executive director of Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, Joy.
Hey, Elaine, so glad to be with you today. Thank you for asking me to join you to have this very important conversation.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. So we had our intro. We've done our bio of you, so everybody knows who you are. And you and I had a little bit of a conversation beforehand about Casey Goodson. Yes. And so this show today is going to center around why the talk would not have helped in that situation and what we can do going forward.
Correct.
Before we get to that, though, I want you to tell our listening audience a little bit about the Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center. I've been trying to get you to do some chapters around the country and see if we can get one here in St. Louis. Hint, hint.
Well, hint, duly noted, note to self. Okay. And actually, we have been asked about having chapters around the country, and it is something that we're looking at because we get so many calls from across the United States. I mean, and it's not surprising. There are a large number of single parents out there raising children. And while single parents, for the most part, do a great job, there's no denying the fact that additional resources and support are needed for single parent families. They're doing the job of two people and they're doing it as one person doing it by themselves. So of course, additional resources and support, encouragement, empowerment, education, all of that is needed for those families. So we are looking at expanding our services. We just have not made any formal announcements as of yet, but stay tuned because it could be coming sooner than you think.
I'm going to keep pushing.
Well, what we do is we try to get our single parents to understand what our new slogan is: single does not mean alone. So you may be a single parent, but you should not be parenting your child alone. So we help single parents form networks of support for themselves and for their children, because of course your children need more than you. As wonderful as you are as a parent, they need that additional support. So create a network of support for you and for them, because if you're parenting alone, then you're not doing it the best way. So we help them form those networks. And then we tie them to resources and support that are in their local communities. And we also help them achieve goals, because single parents can be as successful as any other parents, and their children can as well.
Mm-hmm. So about how many single parents do you serve on an annual basis? And if you want to break it down monthly, because I'm sure the numbers are there.
Well, our numbers were, we have pre-pandemic numbers and pandemic numbers. Our numbers have skyrocketed now because of the pandemic. We have shifted some of our services. Before the pandemic, most of our services were in the form of education. We offered workshops. We would have parents form support groups. We worked on parenting, anger management, financial literacy, helping families find jobs, helping kids improve their academic success. We have an after-school program. So we were really focused on educating and empowering our single parents. Now that we're in the middle of this pandemic, we are actually providing tangible resources. So now we're preventing homelessness by providing emergency rental assistance to keep our families in their homes. We're providing utility assistance so that they can keep their lights on. So we are now helping, we have helped over, last count, 2,700 families so far this year.
Wow, wow. So before, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say also because we are no longer meeting with all of our groups in person, we've now taken our workshops and support groups online. We have been able to exponentially increase the number of families that we can reach. So yes. One of our workshops that we have this single parent virtual tea party every month. And one of our single moms from Alaska checked in. So yeah, now with us going virtual, we can really reach anyone. And I mean, virtually is how you and I are able to do this discussion today.
Exactly. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I do too. I will not forsake getting together in person when we are able, but even when we are able, we will continue to have a virtual presence.
Because it expands your reach.
It does. And people who need access to the services, you know, we may not pack our bags and go to every town, but if you can meet us online, then we can meet you where you are.
Right. And see, you know, that reminds me of some reading I was doing around the churches. The churches are seeing exponential growth since they've been online.
Yes.
And so you're talking about the reach and expanding your reach. This has been, there's been some positives. We don't have to just look at it as a negative.
No, I mean, of course, we've had some severe negative consequences from this, but no matter what your situation and circumstances, and it's again, where we go with our single parents, no matter what your situation is, always look for the opportunity. So the opportunity to expand our audience and to reach more people through this virtual outreach for us has really been able to expand our population.
Great, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. So you're not only done indirect services, but now direct services.
Yes, now we're direct services as well. So families in the counties that we serve that have been affected by COVID and are unable to pay their rent or unable to pay their utilities can call us and we will help them pay that.
Okay, excellent.
Well, also another program that we've gotten into is families that are living in motels. There are a large number of single parent families that are living in motels, and they're kind of a hidden homeless population. They've been either evicted or they've ended up in a motel by some circumstance. And once you start living in a motel, it becomes difficult for you to move out of a motel because you're paying that weekly motel rate and you cannot save enough money for the first month's rent and the security deposit. So we have a program called Motel to Home, and we identify families who have been living in the motel who are working and able to afford rent, but just can't save enough money to move. And we pay their first month's rent and their security deposit to help them transition from living in a motel into an apartment as well. A lot of the CARES Act funds that came down to support families are for families who are living in apartments or in rental homes. There was not a lot of support that came down for families that were living in motels.
Okay.
So we used the funds that we had to help them transition from motels into apartments, and now they have permanent, stable housing. So we're excited.
That's good.
About that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real good. That's real good. Okay. Okay. Wow. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You've come a long way.
Thank you.
Been consistent and there for the people, and that is to be commended. A lot of people don't stay for the long haul because it is very hard work and demanding.
Yes.
So you've been around, I think I quoted like 20 plus years now.
Yeah, we actually were officially incorporated in 2001. So we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So talk about the children. What do you do? We talk about parents, but then how are the families connected, like with the children? What do you offer for children?
So at SPARC, we really focus on what we call our 2-generation approach. So if we have a program for the parents, we have something for the children. If we have something for the children, we have something for the parents. As a single parent myself, the best way that you can help me is to help my child. The best way you can help my child is by helping me. So we use that approach in all of our programs. So we do offer, well, again, pre-pandemic, a full after school program that meets Monday through Friday, every day after school from 3 to 6, where we help our students with their academic growth. We want all of our students on or above reading level. Since the pandemic, we've actually taken our program online. We do some small in-person group tutoring, but we also have what we now call book buddies, which is designed to help our students maintain and improve their reading levels. So we have volunteers that will come online and listen to our children read every day, and it's done in 30-minute segments. So they read, and the volunteer gets to follow along. We use an app called Epic. So students can select their book and the volunteer can also follow along. They read and they discuss what they've learned. So our focus on that program is, one, to help students, of course, improve their reading level. Two, to connect them with a caring adult volunteer. But three, to instill a love of reading for our children. A lot of our kids read because they have to, but with this, to listen to an adult and then to be able to discuss it, we're trying to instill a love of reading. And we have that program launched, of course, this summer. And now we are also located in 2 schools as well. So we're looking for a lot of growth from that program. And the incentives that students get, because of course at the elementary age, for them to do an online reading program, that requires a lot of parent support. So here's where the parent plays a role. The parent makes sure they're logged on. We share the progress because we track their reading levels. So we share that progress with the parents so that they can celebrate that as well. And as the student receives incentives, they receive family incentives. So they get what we call party packs. So it could be a cookie decorating kit. So as a family, they can decorate cookies together. They can get a game night kit where they get board games and snacks. They can get a movie night kit where they get a Netflix gift card as well as some movie snacks. There's an outdoor kit where they get frisbees and jump ropes and sidewalk chalk, and families can go outside and play together. Because of course we want our single parents bonding with their children. So all of the incentives that they get for this are family gifts. The other thing that we do though, and I know we're going to get into why the talk would not have helped in that situation, we still do encourage our parents and to talk with their children and to still have the talk. So it's important to us that families maintain strong, close, healthy, positive communication. So with our workshops on communication and the activities that we do with the families, it's all designed to bring our families close together.
Okay. So that's a good segue because you're doing some wonderful things for the whole family. But now I want to look at some of your efforts around addressing maybe some of the apprehensions and fears of these single moms who are raising African-American boys in this climate. What has SPARC done to be able to help facilitate some of their interactions and communications and how to elevate their discussions about how to handle themselves? Where has SPARC played a role?
Well, one of the things that SPARC does is we don't shy away from the tough things that single parents are going to have to face, because shying away from it doesn't make it go away. So the first thing that we did was we reached out to our local police department. When there was a period of time when it seemed like there was a new incident every week or every few days. And so we reached out to our local police department and we invited them to come in and speak with us. So they were very open to that. They came in, we started a group at Bradford Gwinnett, which is an apartment community where our office is located. And the group is called Positively Bradford. And it was started by a resident who, quite frankly, was afraid. A group of, I would say, 25 residents made it out to our first meeting, and the local police came, and we just had an honest, open discussion about what is going on, and we are afraid of you. And the police were really open to having that discussion, and they started coming out regularly. So what we did was, instead of giving into reasonable fear, because I don't want to make it seem like it was an overreaction or that was somehow unreasonable. Instead of giving into reasonable fear, we took action. And we reached out to our local police department. We started having conversations. The police department came out, they did a series for us on self-defense for women. So they actually got engaged with us in the community. Bradford has a reputation for being unsafe. And the police have a reputation for only showing up when things have gone wrong. So we changed that and we invited them to come out. When we would have events, they would be present. We also started having conversations with the moms about having this talk with your sons. What I find interesting, I mean, this is a very personal story for me because I raised 2 boys, single mom. And I remember having the talk with my sons. Now, it wasn't a formal talk where I sat them down and we had a family meeting, but when they got to be a certain age, and no one told me to have this talk. That's the thing I think that really shocked me. No one told me to have this talk, but I knew I had to have it. As they started to get to a certain age and I realized, okay, they're more independent now. You know, they're going to basketball games, they're walking home from school. You know, they're not in my car or with me everywhere we go. So if they're going to be out there by themselves, I have to make sure that they're prepared for life. And I knew having a conversation with them about what to do if approached by the police was necessary and potentially life-saving. As we'll get to later, sometimes it's not life-saving, but potentially life-saving. So I had the conversation with him. I was not trained to have it, but my sons also are taller than average. They're above average height, and I know.
She said taller than average. They're like giants, okay? I think one is 6'5" and the other might be 6'3" or something. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So I do not have small children.
Right.
So I knew not only are they African-American males, but they are large African-American males, which only for them increases the threat. So I remember this feeling of panic and knowing that I had to speak to them, I had to teach them, I had to prepare them. They had to know what they could and could not do if ever approached by a police officer. And it's not that they were terrible, disrespectful children, and I was just afraid that, you know, but I just knew that that wasn't the point. That they needed to know for themselves that it's different for you.
Right.
There are things that you have to do in order to be as safe as you possibly can. So I remember having a talk for them. And as I go back, I wish I had been more prepared. I wish someone had sat down and talked with me about having the talk so I would know the right words to say. So that's what we do with our moms. We talk to them, and sometimes we have the police present when we're having this conversation. How do you interact with the police? When do you start having the talk? We encourage our parents to have the talk as soon as you can. Once your children start going to school, you need to talk about anything and everything that they can be exposed to.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Not just when they start to drive or they become more independent, but as they start to interact with the world.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You need to establish yourself early on as their primary source of information. So you need to be talking with them as early as you possibly can. If they're going to hear about it in school, they need to hear about it from you. And when these things happen and they're on the news, people are talking about it. So your children are hearing about it. Now, the way that you talk to them, of course, should be age appropriate.
Yeah.
So when they're young, 5 and 6 and 7 years old, you give them information, but you don't talk about topics maybe that they don't understand yet. Maybe they don't understand racial discrimination yet. So you just kind of keep it to words that they can understand and concepts that they can grasp. And then as they get older, then you begin to teach them those things that they need to know. You begin to tackle the more difficult topics. But the most important thing that you can do for your child is establish yourself as their primary source of information. So even if they hear something in the streets, they're going to come home and talk to you about it.
And I would think that I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's why we focus so much on helping parents establish healthy communication with their children.
Where does emotional IQ play into that?
Well, and see, it's different. The most important thing to me about emotional IQ is you need to know your own child.
Exactly.
There are certain things that you can expect at certain ages, but you need to know where your child is. So you need to know emotionally what your child can handle. You need to know intellectually what your child can handle so that the conversation that you have with them is appropriate.
Exactly.
if you have a child who's more sensitive than another child, because maybe you can't have the same conversation. I had two sons who are two very different young men.
Right.
So I had my conversation with them in two very different ways because I needed to speak in the manner to which they listen and to which they understand. So as a parent, again, you have to be adaptable. Know your child.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all.
It's not.
They didn't come here the same, so you're gonna have to, you know, make your narratives and communications tailored for that particular child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then also, as much as possible, give them facts. So it's not just, this is what I think, or this is what I feel. Give them the facts. Talk about the statistics. Give them the numbers. And if you don't know the numbers, my best friend's name is Google. And Google helps me with so many things that I need to know.
Right.
So we're at the point now that not knowing, there's no excuse anymore for not knowing. So do the research for yourself. Do the research for yourself. Arm your children with facts. Let them know. Because as soon as, I mean, you know how it is when you're raising teenagers. Because even if you establish yourself with your young child early on as their primary source of information, you know that changes when they become a teenager. All of a sudden, any wisdom you've had, you've lost. And you are now
right here. I'm a witness. I'm a witness. So I just stopped talking. I'm like, okay, you got it. Call me when you need me, okay? Because you're not hearing me.
At that point, see, at that point, to me, you turn off all of the emotion and you turn off all of the feelings. And at that point, you speak strictly facts that you can back up with data. Because then it's not, well, my mama said. Right. At that point, it becomes these are just facts. I'm giving you the facts. These are the facts. It's hard to argue with facts. Yeah. That's why have the conceptual conversations when they're younger, but as they get older, speak strictly from the facts and let Google be your best friend.
Right. How do you handle with your parents addressing providing a balance in that conversation? And what I mean by that, I remember having the conversation with my son, and I noticed as he got older, I think I had the conversation maybe when he was around 15 or 16, he was about to start driving. And now as he's gotten older, he's 18 now. And one of the things he consistently says to me, why he doesn't like to consistently have this conversation, is because he doesn't want fear to set up inside of him. Right. He doesn't want to move in fear. Right. So when you're having the conversation, you know, communication is key. What you say, how you say it. And I was like, well, you know, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to just prepare you, right? But young men unquestionably have a lot more going on with them internally about when they go out into the world and how they're thinking about how they're being perceived, the different ways they have to probably navigate. And then in all of that, they're saying, but you can't be giving off any signals of being scared. Right. That's the kind of conversation my son had with me. Mom, I can't walk in fear. Well, I'm arming you with information, not trying to scare you, but prepare you. And how can I help you put to bay your ability to walk confidently and not in fear?
See, for us, we try to, our approach to balance is all police are not bad. Because I think sometimes when we're focused on preparing our sons, we forget to tell the other side. All police are not bad. You don't have to fear every police officer. All we're trying to tell you is that in a situation with a police officer, if approached by a police officer, this is what you need to do. Doesn't mean you need to be afraid. You need to be aware. So just knowledge is power. Knowledge is not, it's not your basis for fear. You need to be aware. The more you know, the stronger you are. The more you know, the less you have to fear. So take this in as knowledge. Don't take this in as something that should make you cower. Take this in as knowledge. Knowledge makes you strong. So you need to know this. This is information you need to have to arm yourself. Armor makes you stronger. It makes you tougher. It doesn't make you more afraid.
Okay. All right. And so how have, although you've had the conversations with parents, do you have independent conversations with the young man? Do you have anything centered around them becoming men and how to navigate the world that would balance or couple that talk?
Yes, we did. We had a mentoring program at Bradford, and we had volunteers. We actually had a Gwinnett County Police sent a police officer to our mentoring program as well.
Okay.
So when we would do our workshops, it was run by one of our local churches, is the one that started it up, but it was a partnership between the church, the police department, and the residents of Bradford Gwinnett. And we got together twice a month. Half the day was spent on a workshop and the other half of the day was spent on fun. So some of the things that they did, we talked about how they treat their mothers, because sometimes sons can take the anger they have at the absent father and turn that on the mother. So before that, our boys at the time were young. So before that took place, we were teaching them about respect and how to treat women and girls and their mother particularly. And that series culminated in a black tie formal dinner where the mentors taught their mentees how to tie a tie, and boys served their moms at a formal dinner. So that was one of the events we had. We did a series on just manhood, like making it like, what does a man look like? Boys really learn more so from what they see than what they hear. So if there's no man for them to see and model themselves behind, then we have to do some extra work on giving them information now that they can hear. So we did a workshop and it was led by the mentors on what a man looks like, how a man behaves. So we talked about the characteristics and traits of a man, accountability, responsibility, those kinds of things. And then we ended the day at the park having a picnic and playing basketball. And one of the things that really surprised me was one of our young men, I think he was the smallest one, his mother has, I want to say has had, but that's not the truth, still continues to have a very negative perception of police officers. As a matter of fact, when she realized the mentoring program was going to be a partnership with the police department, she almost pulled her boys from the program. The reason that she didn't was because of her long history with SPARC. She basically trusted us, but she did warn us, keep an eye on my sons, keep an eye on my sons, because she was at work and she couldn't. So that day that we went to the park and played basketball, her youngest son ran up to me and he's like, Miss Joy, I didn't know the police could play basketball. You know, that's not the narrative that he was given. So we want to be able to see the police as people, because they are, but like all people, they are imperfect. So we don't want to, while we don't want to walk in fear, we also don't want to walk in ignorance.
Right.
So we have to be aware that sometimes things go wrong, and they are more likely to go wrong if you're an African-American male than anyone else.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it sounds like perhaps that parent may have had some history.
Yeah,
but
she had a long negative history with police, and it started as a child, and you know, childhood trauma.
Right. So. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good intro to discussing the works of SPARC and your impact with single parents and addressing some very sensitive, intimate issues. And we're going to, when we return from our 3-minute break, we're going to talk about the Casey Goodson situation and why the talk wouldn't have helped that situation. Okay. So, listening audience, we're about to take our 3-minute break. Meet us on the backside when we return to discuss justice for Casey Goodson. We'll see you in 3 minutes. Family on Real STL News. Thank you so much for joining us today, where we have our guest speaker as Ms. Joy Monroe, founder and executive director of the Single Parent Alliance Resource Center in Atlanta, Georgia, which we talked about. We're going to bring a chapter here near you in St. Louis. So we had a great conversation about all of the wonderful work you're doing through SPARC for single parents as well as their children, and talked about your work in the community with the police officers and families and having the talk. Now I want us to kind of spend a few minutes, because this segment is a shorter segment. We have a 10:45 Q&A, at least discussing this situation with Casey Goodson in Columbus, Ohio, and why the talk wouldn't have prepared anybody for that situation.
I can't stress enough how important it is as parents to have that talk with your sons. It would not have helped in the Casey Goodson case, but I cannot still stress enough how important it is that you still have the talk. Sometimes, though, even when you do all of the right things, the wrong result can happen. And that is more likely for African-American males than anyone else. So in the Casey Goodson situation, what I encourage parents to do is to, again, have the talk with your sons, but don't limit your sons. Don't make your sons your only audience. You should be speaking to the local police, speak to your local legislators, speak to your local community groups, your local activist groups, speak to anyone who will listen. Form these relationships for yourselves. At SPARC, as an agency, we have created relationships with our local police department, and we have brought them into the community where our office is located. So those families have access to that relationship. But you don't have to wait for an agency to operate on your behalf. As a single parent, you are empowered to create these relationships yourselves. Call your local police department, go into your local police department, get to know them, let them get to know you. Bring them into your community, bring them into your neighborhood, so that they get to know you and they get to know your children. There's a police officer that I heard say that if you approach, even if your son has committed a crime, if you approach someone you know who has done something wrong, the interaction is going to be very different than if you approach a stranger who has done something wrong. So bring the police into your community in the positive circumstances so that if they have to enter during a negative circumstance, it should not have to end in a tragedy.
It definitely was unfortunate what happened to Casey Goodson. I hope his family can get the justice that they deserve. So we're still waiting on Elaine, folks. I think we'll go ahead, Melissa, Christine. Well, let's move to the Q&A section. See if we have any questions coming in. Hopefully Elaine will be here sooner rather than later.
Thanks.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, Joy. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, I have a couple of questions coming in on the Real STL News site, so we can start with those if that's okay with you guys. So first of all, yes. I'm a single mama of 4 half Black boys, and so I am excited to just sit at your feet this morning and learn from you, and it makes me really excited and actually a little emotional. So thank you for sharing just the work that you're doing, because it's such a big deal and so important, as you know. So yeah, and so just quite a few people saying, I'm a single dad, I'm a single mom in the comment feed. So we've been chatting. The first one is just Cadillac. He says he's new to being a single dad and he needs help. He has a 15-year-old son who's a great kid, but he lost his mom 9 months ago. And he's a single disabled dad, and it's hard to keep utilities paid with a fixed income. Please help. How can your organization help Cadillac? What can he do to get connected?
So there's good news and bad news. So the bad news is that we're located in Atlanta, and all of our resources are specific. All of our financial resources are specifically tied to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. But I will say that since this pandemic has happened, every local community has resources. For us in our community, the United Way has been spearheading most of the relief efforts in our community. So I always think the United Way is a good place to start in your local community. If they don't specifically have resources, they usually know the agencies that do.
Okay. So I'll post that in the chat. A connection.
Yeah, we can post that.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. The next one is Bernicia said she went on the site and she signed up for the email list, but she wants to know what else can she do to get connected to the Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center besides just the email list.
So we have, we're not doing it this month, but we have what we call monthly single parent tea parties. And it's just we all just kind of, there's tea and there's tea. So we actually physically sip a cup of tea because that's my #1 drink of choice after water. And then we talk about what's going on in the single parent community. And we have different topics every month. We've done self-care, we've done communication. We've had a specific topic on single moms raising sons because that's different. We have one for single dads that are raising daughters, because that's a challenge for them as well. So we talk about any and everything. You can submit your own topics, and sometimes we just talk and connect and get to know each other. So it's just a monthly support group that meets. It's a great place to start, a great way to kind of segue and get yourself introduced to SPARC and the services that we offer. And also, it's also a way for us to hear from you what you need. So if there's something that we're not doing that we can do, that's the place to let us know, and we can go ahead and try and get it done.
I love it. Okay, so that's all over Zoom right now, is that right?
Yeah, we're doing that over Zoom. So wherever you are, you can join that. And the dates for 2021 should be posted by Monday morning, because all the dates will go up this weekend.
Okay, so after Monday morning, they could go on the website and there'll be somewhere there to kind of sign up for it. Like,
yeah, it'll be on the homepage. Yeah. Okay. Right now, if you look, it says there are 0, because there's a countdown on our homepage.
Yeah.
And right now there are 0 days counting down to the next event, because the dates for 2021 have not been listed. But Monday morning, when you go onto it, the dates will be listed. So there'll be a countdown for the dates, and you can go on and sign up.
Okay, excellent. So don't worry that there's 0. The countdown is at 0. There's things coming.
Yeah.
The next thing was Asia. Excuse me. Sorry. Asia wants to learn more about the self-defense classes and the after-school programs.
Okay, so again, those are our in-person things. So we're located in Norcross for that. So if she's local, actually our after-school program is for families that live specifically at the complex where we are, but the self-defense classes are open to the local community. We're not currently doing them because, of course, we're not gathering, but as soon as we can gather again, we can start that again. And all of that information will be found on our website as well.
Okay, so probably the main thing that people could get connected to right now is the monthly Zoom interactions that we talked about. And then
we also have other workshops that we offer periodically, but the only thing that we schedule every single month is we have that virtual tea party. But then during the month, we also have, we've done family game nights where we've played virtual games online. In the middle of the summer, when everybody was at their highest level of panic with the pandemic, we did an online vision board, because of course the vision you had for 2020 in January was a little different than what you had in June. So we were just saying, don't give up on it completely. Let's just create a new vision. So
absolutely.
So we do all kinds of things. We do financial literacy, we do some career development. If they sign up for the newsletter, it's the best way to stay connected to us.
Okay, excellent.
And I'm just on the website. I see that there's an events calendar. Is that also where these things are posted?
Yes.
Okay, I'll share that link in the Facebook comments.
Okay. I had other questions, Christine, but before I jump into that, do you have anything from?
I didn't have anything on my end, so go for it.
Okay, excellent. My next question for you, Joy, is do you partner with any other organizations that are focused on single parenting? And are there other organizations that are doing that? Are you the only one? Can you speak to that at all?
I think that when we started, I think in my opinion, we were probably the only one. I had difficulty finding other agencies that were specifically focused on single parents. And a lot of them questioned why I limited my target population. And I was like, it's not really a limit. But I think now that there are more and more organizations that are coming out, and there are more and more organizations that, while not specifically focused on single parents, recognize now that single parents have specific needs, so they now seek me out to serve that population. Like I said, our slogan is single does not mean alone, so we definitely partner with other agencies. We don't think that any one agency can address every issue that single parents face, because they face every issue. So we try to focus on what we're really good at and bring in other partners for things. For instance, when we're doing financial literacy, I can teach a class on budgeting and credit, but why would I not partner with a bank to do that, where they're truly the experts? One of our chief volunteers used to work for Equifax. So when we're talking about ways to fix your credit, we try to bring him on board, because he's a much better expert on that topic than I do. So yeah, we definitely rely on partners for what we do. We try to bring experts in for the various topics.
Excellent. Love it. I had another question about I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I'm a white mama with 4 Black boys. And, you know, I don't know, I guess, is there any thoughts that you have for me as, you know, as a white mom raising Black boys, you know, in this season? Like, I'm learning to have the talk with my boys that I never had, you know. I don't, I am learning, you know, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that for me.
Okay, so I do. And I will say that my ex-husband is the son of a white mother and a Black father. So I've seen this kind of up close and personal. And my former mother-in-law, you know, she had the same challenges you have. So my advice to you is, 1, educate yourself. The fact that you're asking the question to me is already, you know, a huge step. So acknowledge that there is a difference, and then educate yourself on what those differences are, and educate yourself on what your sons could potentially face. And then do what you're doing now, which is get with people who can help you help them. Because, I mean, again, you've got to be an advocate for them, and you can't advocate for them if you don't know. So even what you're doing now, congratulations on that. Kudos to you for recognizing that it's kind of the difference between being a single parent and in a 2-parent household. Single parents have to do extra work. So if you're a white mom of African-American sons, you just have to do extra work. So I think you're willing to do it because you're already doing it. So you're already doing the right things. And accept the fact that you'll make some missteps along the way, and be ready to forgive yourself. There's no time to beat yourself up. You know, if you make a misstep, apologize, dust yourself off, learn, and then just go and do better. I mean, none of us are perfect. I'm a Black mom of African-American sons. And if I brought them on the show, they can probably tell you 1,787 million things I did wrong. So we're all going to make the mistake. So just do the extra work to, like I said, acknowledge that there's a difference, learn what those differences are, and, you know, arm yourself with knowledge. Read, study.
Thank you so much. Just like so encouraging to me. I appreciate it. Sorry for my emotional response, but
this is an emotional topic. Anytime we're talking about our children not being safe, that's an occasion for emotion. You know, I try to be, you know, well, stick with the facts, and, you know, arm yourself with knowledge, and, you know, those are all the right answers. But at the end of the day, if I know my sons are in danger, I'm emotional.
Absolutely. And I think it just you know, accelerates the burden of kind of going, I want to keep my children safe, and I'm the only one, you know, looking out for them. Not really. I mean, you know, if you have support, then you're not. But yeah, but
you feel you're the primary one.
Yeah.
No one is more passionate about this than you are.
That's right.
I understand that. I feel that.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions coming in?
I don't think so.
I think not on Facebook.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you, Melissa, Christine.
Thank you.
Thanks for the questions. I saw Elaine for a short second. Elaine, are you there?
She actually, I think she's still having technical difficulties. I admitted her, and then she went away again. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we only got about 5 minutes left, so we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. So at this point, Joy, do you want to leave some parting words to the audience?
Sure. So I will say, talk to your sons. First, learn, and then talk to your sons, and then don't stop there. Don't stop there. Form these relationships for yourselves. You know, talk to your local police department. There's nothing wrong with setting an appointment to go in and talk to your local police department, to talk about how they see their interaction with their local community. You know, you want to keep the lines of communication open. You want to approach it from the position of an ally if you can, before you're at odds. So try to create the relationship before anything negative happens, is what I would say. And again, talk to your sons, talk to your sons, talk to your sons.
Okay, the good parting words there. Thank you for being on the show with us. Sorry that us interns had to kind of get you through. Sorry, Elaine wasn't here to
No, being a single parent means being prepared for when things go
Right.
wrong.
Okay. Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Justice Beat Talk Show. Thank you, everyone, and also to the family on Real STL News. We will see you all next Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for the season finale for Season 2 of the Justice Beat Talk Show. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.